Hey guys, thanks for clicking on my video. I'm recording with the Fuji X-T4 with face autofocus, and I don't know if I'm in focus or not. Hopefully I am. Today I'm talking about the Tamron 18 to 400 millimeter f3.5 to 6.3. If you're interested in the specs and how many elements and blades and all that kind of stuff, there are videos out there for you. This video's lots and lots of pictures, several videos in case you're interested in what you can do with this lens with a camera like the Canon 90D, which is the camera that I use this lens on. And without further ado, let's get started with the pictures and the videos. Okay, so I started day one with the CineStyle profile. That was the base profile that I used to take all of my images. I was shooting raw images, but I was using the CineStyle profile. And the image on the right is a raw image. Now I've graded it, and you can see the settings. And so that was the day one with CineStyle profile. And I took a lot of pictures kind of around my front yard. You can see when I bump the ISO, the luminance noise kicks in. And a lot of the images that I took on day one and even in day 2, 3, and 4, anytime I bumped the ISO very much with this lens, and I had to a lot, there was a lot of a luminance noise that I had to correct and post. Now that image I just talked about, I did not correct that luminance noise so that you could see it. I tried to take pictures of birds. I thought I had a birding lens, and we'll talk about that later, but the birds would not cooperate. The lens was, it's a 400 millimeter lens, so it's not the steadiest lens when you're trying to hand hold, which means you've got to bump your shutter speeds to try to get clear images. You have to bump your ISO because your shutter speed is higher. And then, of course, you have this 6.3 f-stop at 400 millimeters. Blowout warning. Anytime you have a picture blown out, just make it monochrome, and then it looks like you did it on purpose, right? There's some ducks and some birds, and I really tried hard to make a birding lens out of this. The birds were just not cooperating. Maybe I'm not that good of a photographer. Maybe it's a combination of both. Maybe I needed 600 millimeters to have a real birding lens. But these are the images. Feel free to pause and stop at any of them if you want to check the settings. There was not a blowout there, and day one ended with a very nice bunny rabbit. On day two, I switched to a neutral profile and increased the sharpness and fineness and the threshold because I don't want my sharpness and fineness sharpening my luminance noise. I also have more saturation in this profile than with the CineStyle, and I still had issues with luminance noise and the higher ISOs, but one thing I was very pleased with, even in CineStyle also, I didn't have any issues with this lens with chrominance noise, very, very little chrominance noise, and lens aberration or the fringing around the contrast areas. I didn't have any purple, green fringing around the edges, which was a good thing because Canon's DPP would not allow me to load the Tamron lens information into the program so that I could make corrections to fringing. So good thing it wasn't there. My images were a lot sharper. They were a lot easier to grade when I was shooting in the neutral profile. Now I'm still shooting in RAW. I'm just using the neutral profile. And then I went to Old Timeyville, a little place in my town where they've moved a bunch of old schoolhouses and cabins and things like that into a town square and all kinds of things to take pictures of there, old bells and lots of flowers. And so I was really able to move around with the camera. I say move around, adjust the focal ranges and ISOs and shutter speeds on a lot of different targets or a lot of different subjects and get some pretty cool pictures. Lots of flowers again. There were old wagon wheels, not just wagon wheels, old wagons and log cabins and all that kind of stuff. And I took all kinds of pictures to try to test the sharpness of this new setting, and I liked it. This is an actual picture of the woodshed that Joe Biden used to take people behind when they needed correcting. And there's these are one of my favorite pictures. These benches on this dog run porch of this old house, and just a lot of different images and pictures, so you can kind of get an idea of what you can do with this lens, with this camera. It's really good. It does really well as almost like a macro lens. You can get really close to your subjects. I think you can almost touch the lens when it's fully extended. You can almost touch the lens to what you're trying to take a picture of, and still get focus. So that's pretty neat. Just a lot of different images. The old Magnolia. Here's a 31 millimeter shot, and then I'm going to zoom into 400 and you see what type of range you get. And then here's a picture here, not a great picture, but look at when I crop in the detail in the needles of that tree. And you see we get some good depth of field here. We get good blur in the background. This is not a blowout warning. It's just one that I thought looked better in monochrome for some reason. And here's a flower. I don't know what kind of flower this is, but I thought it was really pretty. And so I got in on it with 400 millimeter, about a foot away. Now here's something interesting. Here's a window, and I'm going to zoom in on the little flamingos in the window. I think this lens would be really good if you were going to a festival or something, and you wanted to zoom in on, maybe someone making a funnel cake or something like that, or you wanted to zoom in on someone twirling cotton candy. Of things I think this lens would be really good for. So I was excited after day 2. With all the luck I'd had on day 2, I thought I would return to birding and wildlife photography on day 3. And I captured great shots of this lizard on my front porch. So I knew that I needed to go back to the birds, and that's what I tried to do. But the birds are just tricky, like they're in the FBI or something, and they don't want their picture taken. Little birds were driving me nuts, so I thought that I would go to the lake and try to take pictures of big birds, of ducks. Look at those doves. I knew that it was going to be my day. And I got to the lake, and there is the duck that I wanted to take pictures of. There he is, hiding behind the boathouse, away from me, not wanting me to take his picture. Zoomed in at 400 meters, this was the best that I could get of that duck out there as he swam away from me and towards the fishermen who did not have cameras. But a couple of ducks did fly in, and I was able to take a few pictures of them, but still not the birding lens that I wanted, not the birding lens that I thought I had purchased. You have to put on camouflage and hide if you want good close pictures of birds. Here he is flying away, and I was proud of this shot here. Water spots and feathers. On day 4, I decided to get up early and do what I think that I do best, which is sunrise and sunset photography. So I drove down the street to the lake with Tamron 18-400 and the Canon 90D, which is magnificent in this type of situation, and proceeded to take pictures of the lake as the sun rose. The fishermen were there driving away to go hang out with the ducks that would not let me take their pictures. But the sun rose and just shot after shot after shot appeared. And it was great. It's my favorite thing when it comes to videography and photography is this. One thing I haven't talked about with this lens is the autofocus on the 90D. And it was great when I did it for video and when I did it for photography. It was fast, it was on point, had no issues with the autofocus with this lens on the Canon camera. So good stuff there. There was grass with little beads of dew on it, and the sun rose and hit those little beads of dew. It looked like Christmas lights on the grass. And so I just took photo after photo. So many photos of this grass that you're not going to see, but several photos that you will see. And I think this is one of the things that I really liked about this lens is I could zoom in on this grass without having to get into the lake to get these shots. And it was, I really loved it. This is one of my favorite pictures from the lake. It's like a ribbon of gold, and it's just grass. Good stuff. And blowout alert again. You know, when you're blowing out, make it monochrome, looks great. This little fungus moss stuff grows on a lot of the trees around here, so I thought I'd get a picture of it. And here's just a far out shot. That boathouse in the distance was very far away from me, and how this lens brings that background up and compresses everything is amazing. These last shots were from LSUS campus in Shreveport, Louisiana. Went there that afternoon to do some things and took a few shots. Look at this crop in on this tower. That tower was very far away, and the detail in that crop was pretty good. So just some random shots that I took while I was on campus that I thought were kind of neat. Water spigot. And then the science building. Isn't science kind of cold? So I cooled this one off. I really like these metal letters on the building. This nice lady was way far away, and I took her picture. And then, of course, the fire hydrant. Anyway, that's all I have. Hope that you guys enjoyed the video. Hope that you got some ideas about what you can do with the lens. Please hit the like button. Check out my other Canon 90D videos and some of my Fuji X-T4 videos.